Kubernetes gives you speed, flexibility, and scale, but also 1,000 ways to shoot yourself in the foot. And when it comes to security, the question most people ask usually aren't the right one. I get asked about Kubernetes security almost daily, and after seeing enough real-world cluster, you start to notice the same kind of question come up again and again. So in this video, I'm breaking down the 10 Kubernetes security questions you should be asking. Number 1, is Kubernetes secure out of the box? Kubernetes is a great product, straight off the shelf. It checks all the boxes for developer. It's fast, scalable, and highly available, but it doesn't come secure. That part is 100% up to you. So the answer is no, it is not secure out of the box. Kubernetes gives you a lot of power with no seatbelts. And I've seen team goes live assuming that everything's protected until someone realizes that their pod can talk to anything it wants. Number 2, what's the first thing that I should lock down? Well, taking a page out of wartime strategy, a good protection should always start with your command center. In Kubernetes, that's the control plane. It's where access decisions are made, where workload are scheduled, and where policy is enforced. If someone gets access to your API server with elevated privilege, it's no longer your cluster, it's there. And it's not always a breach. Sometimes it's a forgotten kube config, a token CI, or an old admin account that someone forgot to shut off. So always secure the command center first, then worry about the rest. Number 3, why does everyone talk about network policies? Think of Kubernetes like a giant public internet with tons of houses. And by default, every house, every device, every room can talk to each other. So there's no firewall, no restriction, just a big open network. That's how Kubernetes networking works out of the box. It feels really open and flexible for when you're building things. But in production, that's a huge risk. One compromised pod, and now an attacker can explore your entire cluster. Network policy is how you put up fences and apply that restriction. It lets you control who can talk to who and make sure it's not just one big open public party. Number 4, should I scan my container images? Absolutely. Think of image scanning like a pre-flight check for fighter jets. You're making sure everything looks good before taking off. No known issues, no outdated components. Nothing is broken before you hit the air. But once you're flying, it's a whole different game. You don't shut off the safety system just because everything looks good in the runway. That's the same with Kubernetes. A clean image at build time doesn't mean it'll behave safely at runtime. You still need to think about where it's deployed, where it has access to, what happened when something goes wrong. So scanning is just step 1, not the finish line. Number 5, what's the real risk of running container as root? Giving container root access isn't just careless, it's dangerous. Imagine you're managing a hotel. Instead of giving each guest their room key, you hand out master key to everyone. Why? Because it's fast and easier. But now every guest has access to any room and any floor and anything they want. You just hope that they don't go to where they're not supposed to. And that's really wishful thinking. That's what running as root look like in Kubernetes. One container get compromised and suddenly it has access to everything. Most apps don't need that kind of access. They're just there to do their job, not manage the whole building. So don't hand out master key when all someone need was access to a single room. Number 6, is RBAC enough to manage access? In Kubernetes, RBAC is your permission system. It lets you define who gets access to what. But here's the thing. RBAC decides who, but it doesn't know why. It doesn't track intent. It doesn't know if that access is still needed. It just enforces good or bad. And over time, access power up. Cluster admin gets handed out for those just for now situation, and people forget to clean that up. So you have temporary access sitting around and old service accounts sticking around long after the workload are gone, leaving loophole behind. RBAC only works if you actually manage it. It's not a one-time setup. It's an ongoing practice. Keep your role tight and review them regularly. And treat access like sensitive data. Only give what's needed and take away when it's not needed. Number 7, do I need to worry about internal threats in Kubernetes? Yes, internal threats are the one that usually catch people off guard. In the zero trust era that we're in today, you must assume everything's a risk, internal or external. Trusting internal traffic means the bad actor only needs to break through one layer because once they're in, they have access to everything. Most clusters are full of soft targets, leftover tools, exposed API, things nobody thought to lock down. So follow this rule. If you won't expose it to the internet, don't expose it inside your cluster either. Number 8, what are some quick wins for securing workloads? Here's the thing. You don't need a new platform or a big migration to get better security. Good security start with you, and here are some easy and quick hitters that you can start today. Don't run container as root. Set CPU and memory limits. Use read-only file system when you can, and drop all the Linux capability that your app doesn't need. And lastly, avoid mounting the entire volume unless it's completely necessary. These aren't heavy lift, but they tighten up the blast radius just in case something does go wrong. Number 9, what's the biggest mistake team makes? Delaying security, prioritizing business need over security. And trust me, I get it. There are deadlines to meet, objectives to hit, but putting off security is really counterproductive and not safe. Kubernetes is much harder to lock down when things are live. So in most cases, if you try to secure it after going live, your application and your user experience will be impacted no matter what. So not to mention the complexity that you now must have to untangle. And that's exactly why people avoid it. Nobody wants to touch security once everything is working. People are scared to break stuff. So most often than not, they actually delay it even longer. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to start early. Adding guardrails before you add workload is a smart move. Number 10, how do I know if my cluster is actually secure? Well, you don't, but you have to find out before someone else does. You have to test it just like an attacker would. Don't rely on silence as proof that things are working fine. Ask yourself a question. What happens if this pod gets compromised? Can it see things it shouldn't? Can it reach the API server? Can it move laterally across namespace? You don't need a full red team to start thinking this way. Just the willingness to challenge your own assumption. So those are the 10 questions. And honestly, they're not just questions. They're the gap that I see over and over again in real cluster. Security in Kubernetes isn't just about checking boxes. It's about understanding where the risks live and putting the right control in place before something breaks. The biggest issue I see don't come from attacker. They come from assumptions. Assuming cluster is just fine because nothing is wrong. Assuming internal traffic is trust. Assuming someone else lock it down. Kubernetes give you a lot of power and flexibility, but it also assumes that you'll use it wisely. Thanks for watching.